First Contact Protocol. The message arrived on a Tuesday. Every communication system on Earth received it simultaneously. Military channels, civilian broadcasts, personal devices, even ancient radio telescopes. The transmission bypassed all encryption, overrode all signals, and appeared in every language simultaneously. It was a technological marvel that instantly confirmed what humanity had suspected. We were not alone, and whoever had found us was unfathomably advanced. "Citizens of Earth," the message began, its tone unnervingly pleasant despite the weight of its words. "The Galactic Concordat acknowledges your civilization's emergence. You are hereby notified that your solar system falls within Concordat jurisdiction. Integration is mandatory. Resistance is historically unsuccessful." Admiral Helena Chen watched the screens at the United Earth Defense Command as they displayed the message for the fourth time. Around her, the command center buzzed with controlled panic. Military officials from every nation, scientists, and political leaders all gathered in what had become the de facto center of humanity's response. "They've given us 72 hours, said General Okafor of the African Union. 3 days to surrender our sovereignty or face what they call corrective measures." Chen's expression remained impassive as she studied the scans from deep space monitoring stations. The Concordat's vessels had appeared just beyond Mars' orbit. 17 ships of varying sizes, all exhibiting technology far beyond humanity's current capabilities. "What do our simulations say?" she asked, turning to Dr. Wei, head of the Xenotechnology Assessment Division. The scientist adjusted his glasses nervously. If their weapons are proportional to their propulsion technology, a direct confrontation would be catastrophic. Their energy signatures suggest capabilities that would overwhelm our defense systems in minutes. The room fell silent. 20 years ago, such a meeting would have been impossible. Nations squabbling, political rivalries taking precedence over survival. But the climate crisis of the 2030s had changed everything, forcing international cooperation on an unprecedented scale. The United Earth Defense Command was the culmination of that hard-learned lesson, humanity's insurance policy against extinction. "They expect us to surrender," said President Alvarez, her voice cutting through the silence. "Their message, their positioning, it's all designed to intimidate. They want us to recognize our technological inferiority and submit without a fight." Chen nodded. "Standard colonial methodology. They've likely done this hundreds of times before, which means they have a playbook," added Director Zhao of Chinese intelligence. "And every playbook has weaknesses." The next 48 hours passed in a blur of activity hidden from public view. While governments worldwide issued statements urging calm, beneath the surface, Earth-activated protocols developed for exactly this scenario. Project Apollyon, once considered a theoretical exercise, by most military strategists was now fully operational. For 15 years, the world's brightest minds had worked in secret, developing technologies that remained classified even within most military circles. The project's existence was humanity's best-kept secret, and potentially its salvation. On deep-sea platforms, in underground bunkers, and from disguised installations across the globe, systems came online. What made Project Apollyon unique wasn't raw firepower. Humanity couldn't match the aliens there, but rather its approach to asymmetric warfare on a cosmic scale. "They're scanning us constantly," reported Lieutenant Commander Patel, "monitoring electromagnetic activity around Earth. Looking for military buildups, weapon systems, fleet movements." Chen smiled slightly. "Let them look." What the Concordat couldn't detect was what wasn't there. Quantum-entangled communication networks that operated without conventional signals, weapons platforms disguised as civilian infrastructure, and defense systems specifically designed to appear as background radiation. 70 hours into the ultimatum, the Security Council convened for their final decision. 28 individuals representing Earth's unified defense structure gathered around a table that had been designed never to be used. "We have three options," said Admiral Chen, standing at the head of the table. "Surrender and accept Concordat. Rule, attempt diplomatic negotiations for better terms, or refuse and activate Apollyon." "What do we know about this Concordat?" asked the representative from Oceania. Director Zhao pulled up the limited intelligence they had gathered. "Based on their communications patterns and ship design philosophies, we believe they're a collective of species under hierarchical control. Their ultimatum follows a template. Identical phrasing has been detected in ancient radio signals from distant star systems that suddenly went silent decades ago. They're conquerors," President Alvarez concluded. "Systematic ones," agreed Chen. "They offer integration, but historical patterns suggest that means resource extraction, possibly population control, definitely the end of human self-determination." The vote was unanimous. Earth would not surrender. As the deadline approached, Admiral Chen stood in the command center, watching the countdown. No response had been sent to the Concordat. Instead, Earth had maintained complete communications silence, a decision that puzzled the alien vessels according to their increased scanning activity. "They expected begging," observed General Okafor, "or threats, or desperate negotiation. Attempts!" "They don't understand us," Chen replied, checking her watch. "And that's our advantage." When the deadline passed, the Concordat ships began to move. Just as predicted, they arranged themselves in a display formation above Earth's major population centers, a show of force designed to trigger immediate surrender once civilians witnessed their power. Chen gave a single nod to the communications officer. Instead of a message of surrender, Earth sent the Concordat a simple mathematical sequence: prime numbers, followed by a single word transmitted in the Concordat's own encryption format: reciprocity. Confusion rippled through the alien fleet. For 11 minutes, they held position, likely debating the meaning of Earth's cryptic response. Then, as their lead vessel powered weapon systems, Admiral Chen spoke a single phrase into her secure communicator: "Apollyon awakens." And with that, humanity revealed that it would not go quietly into subjugation. The true first contact protocol had been initiated, not with diplomacy, but with a demonstration that humanity's place in the galaxy would be determined by humans alone. The silent response. The Concordat fleet commander, High Overseer Vaxitilian, had supervised 67 planetary integrations during his illustrious career. Each followed the same efficient pattern: intimidation, demonstration of power, submission. Occasionally, a limited military response required disciplinary action, but no civilization had ever lasted beyond the first exchange of fire. As his flagship, the Inevitable Discourse positioned itself over the Earth's northern hemisphere. He felt the familiar satisfaction of another successful expansion. These humans were primitive, still burning hydrocarbons, still fighting among themselves, barely able to reach their own satellite. Intelligence reports classified them as a Tier 3 developing species, notable only for their unusual biological adaptability and surprising technological progress despite their social inefficiencies. "Overseer, the humans have responded," announced his communications officer. Vaxtilian's secondary eyes blinked in mild surprise. "Display it." The sequence of numbers followed by that single word, reciprocity, was puzzling. His cultural analysts suggested it might be some primitive religious reference or perhaps a misguided attempt at mathematical diplomacy. "They are confused," he concluded. "Prepare the demonstration. Target uninhabited areas near their largest population centers. Minimal casualties but maximum visibility." As weapons systems powered up, the Inevitable Discourse's sensors detected something unusual: a slight fluctuation in the planet's electromagnetic field, almost imperceptible. "Probably atmospheric interference," the science officer noted dismissively. That was when the first satellite detonated. Not a military explosion, something else entirely. A quantum cascade that rippled through subspace. Around Earth, 300 seemingly civilian communication satellites simultaneously transmitted a precisely calibrated pulse that human scientists had named the Charybdis Protocol. The effect was instantaneous. Across the Concordate fleet, navigation systems failed as quantum fields collapsed. Ships designed to traverse galaxies suddenly couldn't determine their positions within meters. Communications arrays seeking to coordinate the fleet received nothing but mathematical noise. The same prime number sequence Earth had transmitted, repeating endlessly. "Countermeasures," Vaxitilian ordered, his composure slipping for the first time in decades. "Reboot all systems." But the Charybdis Protocol wasn't a conventional attack. It didn't destroy. It introduced subtle errors into quantum calculations, errors that compounded with each attempted correction. Concordate technology, built on perfect quantum coherence, began experiencing something they had never encountered: deliberate quantum decoherence. From hidden installations across Earth's oceans, the second phase began. Platforms disguised as research stations revealed their true purpose, launching what appeared to the Concordate as primitive ballistic missiles, a laughably inadequate response to their advanced shields. Vaxitilian actually allowed himself a moment of amusement. "They attack with chemical propellants and metal casings. Predictable desperation." Then the missiles changed. Halfway to their targets, each projectile separated into hundreds of smaller units, each barely larger than a human hand. The Concordate's targeting systems, already compromised, couldn't lock onto the swarm of tiny objects now approaching from multiple vectors. When they impacted the alien shields, they didn't explode. They attached. Each microscopic device began, executing its singular purpose, exploiting resonance patterns in the Concordate shield technology. Humanity couldn't match alien power generation, but they understood wave interference. The devices created localized disruptions, canceling specific frequencies in rolling patterns that opened momentary gaps in the seemingly impenetrable barriers. Through these precisely timed windows came the third wave, quantum-locked projectiles, carrying concentrated electromagnetic pulses calibrated specifically to the Concordate's technology. Human scientists had spent years analyzing faint transmissions from distant stars, reverse engineering the principles behind alien tech without ever seeing it directly. Aboard the inevitable discourse, chaos erupted as systems failed in cascading sequences. Emergency protocols activated, then failed themselves. Artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. Life support systems entered error states never envisioned by their designers. "Impossible," whispered Vaxitilian, watching as his supposedly invincible armada found itself paralyzed, not by superior firepower, but by a calculated asymmetric response that targeted precisely the technologies they relied upon most. 3 Concordate. Vessels attempted emergency jumps to light speed, a standard tactical retreat to regroup. 2 disappeared into misaligned spatial coordinates, lost in dimensional space. The third suffered catastrophic drive failure, its reactor contained only by emergency systems. From the United Earth Defense Command, Admiral Chen watched the sensor, feeds, with cool detachment. "Phase 4, she ordered. Across Earth, military vessels previously hidden underwater emerged. Unlike the Concordate's elegant, advanced designs, these were brutalist constructions. Vessels built not for space, but for delivering a single payload. They launched simultaneously, carrying humanity's message written in the only language conquerors truly understood: force. These weren't missiles designed to destroy the alien ships. They were precision instruments targeting propulsion and weapons, systems with surgical accuracy. Humanity couldn't match the Concordate's technological sophistication, but they had mastered something perhaps more valuable: adaptation and improvisation. 6 hours after the deadline passed, 11 of the 17 Concordate vessels hung disabled in Earth orbit. 3 had retreated to the outer solar system, maintaining minimum operational capacity. 2 had disappeared entirely, likely lost to failed spatial jumps. and the flagship, Inevitable Discourse, found itself in a predicament no concordant vessel had experienced in centuries, completely vulnerable. A direct communication channel opened from Earth to Vax Tillion's command center. Admiral Chen's face appeared on their still-functioning screens. "This concludes our demonstration," she said calmly. "We did not want this conflict, but we prepared for it nonetheless. Your remaining functional vessels are being permitted to withdraw. You have 6 hours to collect your disabled ships and exit our solar system." Vaxitilian stared at the human in disbelief. How did primitives like you—" "We are not primitives," Chen interrupted. "We are survivors. For thousands of years we fought each other, developed weapons to use against ourselves. When we finally united, we took those lessons and applied them to a greater purpose, ensuring humanity's survival against any threat, including yours." She leaned closer to the screen. "We could destroy your remaining vessels. Instead, we're allowing you to return to the Concordat with a message. Earth is not available for integration. Not now. Not ever." The transmission ended, leaving the Concordat fleet in stunned silence. For the first time in recorded history, a Tier 3 civilization had not only resisted but decisively defeated a Concordat integration force. More troubling still, they had done so not through superior technology, but through innovation and strategic thinking that no predictive model had anticipated. As the damaged Concordat vessels limped away from Earth, Vaxtilian faced an uncomfortable realization: they had fundamentally misunderstood humans. Their classification systems had measured technological advancement, energy utilization, and spatial reach, but had failed to quantify humanity's most dangerous quality: their relentless ingenuity when faced with extinction. The Concordat would need to reevaluate everything they thought they knew about this species, and the galaxy would soon learn that a new power had announced itself, not through conquest, but through successful defense of its sovereignty. A new galactic order. The Concordat Central Authority convened its full assembly for the first time in 70 years. 912 species were represented, arranged in concentric rings according to their integration status and technological tier. At the center, the founding 7, the eldest species who had established the Concordat millennia ago, sat in growing discomfort as the full report from Earth was presented. High Chancellor Ziv, eldest of the Kirshara and nominal head of the Concordat, struggled to maintain composure as the recording of the Earth encounter played for all representatives. The humiliation was unprecedented. A supposedly primitive species not only resisting integration, but decisively defeating a standard subjugation fleet. "The humans employed technologies we believed beyond their capability," explained Science Minister Alara, "but more concerning is that they did not develop direct counter-technologies to match ours. Instead, they identified fundamental principles underlying our systems and exploited them in ways our security protocols never anticipated." Murmurs spread through the assembly. The implications were disturbing. The Concordat's expansion had always relied on technological superiority and the predictability of resistance. Earth had demonstrated neither weakness. "What is the current containment status?" demanded Security Director Morn Tal. "Problematic," admitted Fleet Commander Vex. "We established a monitoring cordon at the edge of their solar system, but 3 observation posts have gone silent. The humans are expanding their defensive perimeter. They've adapted some of our technology from the disabled vessels we were forced to abandon." Chancellor Ziv's tendrils coiled in agitation. "And the integration timetable?" A heavy silence fell over the central platform. "Current simulations suggest that conventional integration strategies would fail," Vex finally responded. "The resource expenditure to guarantee success would exceed acceptable parameters. We would need to allocate forces currently maintaining control in at least 7 frontier sectors." The unspoken consequence hung in the air, redirecting such forces would expose weakness, potentially encouraging rebellion in already restive systems. The Concordat maintained control through the appearance of invincibility as much as actual military power. Perhaps more concerning, added Intelligence Director Thala, is that news of Earth's resistance has already spread. Our information quarantine failed. On the display, footage appeared from across Concordat space, underground transmissions, sharing details of Earth's defense, spreading from system to system despite aggressive censorship. In frontier territories, the impact was already visible: increased resistance activities, declining compliance rates, and occasional direct references to Earth tactics in insurgent communications. How could information spread so quickly? Demanded Chancellor Ziv. Director Thala's expression darkened. It appears the humans anticipated this outcome. After repelling our fleet, they transmitted detailed accounts of the engagement on all frequencies, specifically in the languages of frontier worlds. They wanted the galaxy to know. In the third ring of the assembly, Representative Kier of the Vostagars, a recently integrated species still under restriction protocols, rose without recognition, breaking centuries of procedure. Perhaps, he said, his translator struggling with his dialect, the question is not how to subjugate these humans, but whether continuing our current expansion model serves the Concordat's long-term interests. Shock rippled through the chamber. Such brazen questioning would normally result in immediate censure, possibly even representative replacement. But these were not normal circumstances. Chancellor Ziv studied the Vostagar carefully. Clarify your position, Representative. The humans defeated our integration force not through technological superiority, but through adaptive thinking and strategic innovation. They identified weaknesses we didn't know existed. Rather than seeking to conquer them, perhaps there is more value in understanding them. The suggestion was radical. The Concordat had not admitted a new species to full membership rather than subjugation in over 3 centuries. The founding 7 exchanged glances, their private communication channels buzzing with urgent debate. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Earth was already reshaping interstellar politics. Admiral Chen, now serving as Earth's first interstellar security director, stood aboard the Defiance, humanity's first true starship, built with a hybrid of human innovation and reverse-engineered Concordat technology. On the bridge view screen, representatives from the Fringe Alliance, a loose coalition of worlds at the edge of Concordat control, requested formal diplomatic relations. They see us as a counterbalance, explained Ambassador Rodriguez. Not just militarily, but ideologically. We've demonstrated that resistance is possible. Chen nodded thoughtfully. And what do they offer in return? Knowledge, star charts, cultural databases, and most importantly, comprehensive intelligence on Concordat operations across 20 sectors. In the 6 months since the failed invasion, humanity had advanced with characteristic speed. The disabled Concordat vessels had provided technological insights that accelerated Earth's development by decades. More importantly, they had offered a window into galactic politics, revealing that the supposedly all-powerful Concordat was, in reality, an overextended empire maintaining control through fear and momentum. We're not interested in becoming another empire, Chen told the Fringe representatives. Earth's primary concern remains its own security and sovereignty. The alien diplomat, a tall crystalline being named Val Shar, inclined its angular head. Yet by your very existence as a free world, you change the equation for all of us. The Concordat's control relies on the belief that resistance is futile. You have disproven this fundamental assumption. 3 days later, the United Earth Council voted to establish formal relations with the Fringe Alliance, humanity's first interstellar diplomatic agreement. The terms were carefully limited: information exchange, mutual defense consultation, and limited technological cooperation. Earth would not commit military forces to conflicts beyond its solar system, but it would share defensive methodologies. As news of this alliance reached the Concordat Central Authority, Chancellor Ziv faced an unprecedented crisis. Sensors detected increased activity in 12 previously pacified sectors. Reports of collaboration between formerly competing species poured in from frontier worlds. The Earthen approach to asymmetric defense was being adapted and implemented across dozens of systems. The humans have initiated a paradigm shift without firing a single shot beyond their own system, observed Elder Trom of the Founding Seven. They've weaponized hope. In a historic vote that divided the Founding Seven for the first time in a millennium, the Concordat Central Authority approved a radical new approach, a diplomatic mission to Earth, not to demand integration, but to negotiate mutual recognition. When the Concordat diplomatic vessel emerged at the edge of the solar system, it was met by an Earth defense fleet that hadn't existed 6 months earlier, ships of human design incorporating principles from a dozen alien technologies, all adapted and improved upon by engineers who excelled at seeing connections others missed. In the diplomatic chamber aboard the neutral station, positioned in Earth orbit, Chancellor Ziv faced Admiral Chen across a simple table. Neither side brought weapons. Both brought their full attention. "Your species has accomplished something unprecedented," began the Chancellor. "You have forced the Concordat to reevaluate assumptions that have guided us for millennia." "We didn't set out to change galactic politics," Chen replied evenly. "We simply refused to surrender our self-determination. And in doing so, you may have altered the course of galactic history." The Chancellor's translator couldn't fully convey the complex emotions in his harmonic speech, but the gravity was clear. "The agreement I am authorized to propose is without precedent. Recognition of Earth as a sovereign power, non-interference within your expanding sphere of influence, and potential future consideration for alliance rather than integration." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Chancellor, humanity has a long history of oppression and resistance. We've learned that true security comes not from domination but from mutual respect and balanced power. We're prepared to establish peaceful relations with the Concordat, but we will never accept a relationship built on intimidation." As the negotiations proceeded over the following weeks, news spread throughout inhabited space. The mighty Concordat was treating with Earth as an equal. Systems that had lived under subjugation for generations began to reconsider their place in the galactic order. Species that had accepted their subservient roles began to question long-held assumptions. The galaxy would never be the same, not because Earth had defeated the Concordat in some decisive military victory, but because humanity had demonstrated that determination, innovation, and principled resistance could overcome even the most overwhelming odds. In the decades that followed, Earth emerged as the center of a new interstellar paradigm, neither an empire nor merely a member of the existing order, but something entirely different, a catalyst for a more balanced galaxy where cooperation gradually replaced subjugation as the dominant model of interspecies relations. The humans, it turned out, had done more than defend their planet. They had introduced a revolutionary concept to the stars. That genuine security came not from the ability to dominate others, but from creating systems where domination itself became obsolete. And it had all begun with a simple refusal to kneel before those who expected nothing less than complete submission.